Hi.
Hey, is this Tiffany?
It is. It is.
Hey, Tiffany, Elaine McFadden. Elaine McFadden. I'm your host, Elaine McFadden, but this is our next guest, Tiffany. And do you want to tell everyone your whole name, or she's actually a whistleblower that worked for one of the vector departments here in California, and Uh, you may know the vector department as the people that come and spray pesticide all around our community for different reasons, such as mosquitoes. It could be what's that other one? That the med fly is another one. They were just in Los Angeles a few months ago spraying for this med fly. And the thing is, we are subjected to this spraying, and changing, if we have an organic garden, it's not organic, or a citrus tree is not organic anymore. And these people we're coming right onto our property and applying these toxic substances without our permission for the purpose of protecting mostly the farm industry. They say it's like protecting our health too. But maybe after we get to know Tiffany a little bit and we listen to her story, which everyone, this is going to be a multi part segment because this is such a huge issue. There is no way that we could get through it, even if we had a whole hour. So we're going to have Tiffany keep coming back, and we're going to keep adding to the story because it really has a lot of different parts to it for us to understand. But this is so important because this is a government agency, right, Tiffany? And so it's funded by our taxpayer dollars.
Absolutely. It's a county, they use a county name. First of all, I'd like to know if you can hear me okay.
Yes,
With
yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Brandon.
Okay.
Our engineer took care of it.
Okay. So I wanted to make sure I had the right volume and everything, but we operate under a county name, but if I went to the county, I have gone to the county and I have complained, and the county says they are a special district. So although they use the county name, they have no authority over themselves. They govern themselves.
Oh, really? I was wondering about that because when I saw like Northwestern, which is one near us, I was like, so what does that mean, Northwestern? What part do they are they covering a whole county? And so you're saying that there is no association with any other government agency. So how do they form these departments? They
They are they're a joint vector. They're a joint power authority, is what they call themselves. They're a special district. Let's start with this. They have many names that they operate under, many names. And so my agency is San Joaquin County Mosquito and Vector Control District. I am Tiffany Anderson. I was a pesticide applicator from 2004 until 2011, and Elaine is correct. I am a whistleblower. Um, our county, or our district, is a special district, which means they govern themselves. Nobody governs them. They govern themselves. They receive county funding, they receive state funding, and they receive federal funding.
And does it so no one ever comes and checks on them to see what they're up to over there?
You know, I've actually, at my specific district, I sent a lot of people a lot of agencies that say they have authority over them. But one of the things that our district has done, I'm going to give a preface, or I'm going to kind of give you. I'm going to just say that I can't answer for all vector control districts, and just as of recent, I met probably my first honest vector control district, just just by chance. But I can so first of all, I can only speak for San Joaquin County and the information that I have self-taught since my termination from that job. They do not. Our district does not deal with med flies, with within, we call them midges, but they do not, they are mosquito specific. We do receive funding in San Joaquin County for bee removal, which I find is very interesting because we do not remove bees. And they also receive funds for tick monitoring for Lyme disease, although we do nothing with ticks as well.
And when you say you don't remove bees, that's because you kill them, right?
Well, not, we
When
used
you
to
get a
go
call
in.
for bees and you go to the site, what happens then?
We do not. If somebody, so because this is a taxpayer agency, anybody who lives within San Joaquin County, if they have mosquitoes, they can call, and it's supposedly, I'm doing in quotes, free. Of course, we know it's not free. Um, but so if we got a call for bees, we would actually refer them to a bee removal company. Although we did do bee removals in the past, and but since we get so much funding to just deal with mosquitoes, they and bees are such a hazard. You know, they can be harmful if you don't know what you're doing removing a bee's nest. When we get into using the pyrethrins from the planes, or even the technician who hasn't been trained on bee boxes or protecting our bees, you would be correct. We don't intentionally go to kill them, but through my 7 years of employment, I was never trained on what a bee box was, or you know, where to spray and where not to spray. I never had any bee training.
I just like to interject that bee-rooted bees, that's called bee-rooted, rooted bees, is a company that great people. They will come and remove bees and relocate them for a new life somewhere else. They're professional beekeepers. Just like you said, Tiffany, you need to have someone that knows what they're doing. And when you call the bee removal people, that's Terminex, and they will come and kill them. So they,
Right.
because
Right.
I witnessed that happening right across the street, so I feel like I can talk in confidence about that. But someone like Bee Rooted Bees, they go through great lengths, no matter where it's located, even if it's in a weird place, they will save that hive and go and give it new life somewhere else and take that whole hive and the bees with them. And so it's really a great, and for the same cost or less, to call Bee Rooted Bees. So I just wanted to get that in there in case someone will actually write that down. In case, because we have another organization. Someone just asked about a skunk with a broken leg, and I found out that there is a lady up near Big Bear that takes care of skunks, and then we have the Possum Society that I got to know in the past couple of weeks too, to save possums. So, when we utilize these great community organizations, we don't have to kill these animals or kill these bees, because we know that they are beneficial. And I'm sure that,
Right.
that's a, when we talk about the vector department, that's why I feel like it's so important. We're already losing so many of these beneficial insects because of just, all these farmers spraying and people spraying, and to come along and, destroy them when it's really not necessary. And that's what we're talking about too here, isn't it, Tiffany? It's like this balance of we're applying all these pesticides, but is this really the best way? Because like we've had a
No.
discussion on the other alternatives that we could use that are not toxic. But yet, people can even take a system like that and destroy it, which is what has been proven where you work. And we're going to get into more of that kind of situation too, which is happening at the facility as well, and people that work there, and decision makers that are working there, and decisions that they're making. And it's like when you hear the whole story, you'll just be going, you'll be very surprised that these kind of things are going on, and no
Well,
one is making them
as
accountable.
as you There, that is 100% correct. There is no accountability. That is for sure. That is why I contacted you to begin with. But when we talk about pesticides, the whole purpose of pesticide is to kill, and it kill. Life is life. So pesticides just aren't just these pesticides aren't made just for mosquitoes, especially when you're looking at your pyrethrins. And I would have to tell you, I mean, there's multiple lawsuits going around the specific pesticides that our agency uses. So I think we're getting at the surface of something big.
Well, I just found out that what they use for termites, which is a DNA destroyer, um, that the applicator guy that works for the company told me that they were like doing that, using this stuff like around waterways, and that there was no warning for amphibians, which is anything that lives in like water, and kills them. And I'm sure that Tiffany can like explain this better, but what he said, I just learned this, is that a year ago they added this amphibian warning on the label. But before that, Tiffany, there was no warning label. So they have been like using this and killing uh, all kinds of, even like ducks and other wildlife that live around water are all affected by this.
Absolutely. I
And
mean, that's what we actually have to get a permit. Our agency is required to get a permit, and every year it's authorized. I mean, it has to be it has to be. I was going to look it up. It's called an NPEDS permit, National Elimination Discharge Pollutant. It, it's an application that our agency has to submit every year with the state of California, and we are to put the pesticides that we are going to use on this list, and then it gets a yay or a nay, and they've removed they took the organophosphates away from us, which would have been like the NALED. That was taken away from us,
but then
but
Dow
then
signed the order to allow its continued use because we were phasing it out. So, do you
right.
know if they've been allowed to use that again
I
since
have
Trump?
not been working for the last 6 years, and I kind of lost interest in doing my research probably about 2 years ago. So I'm not up on the NALED, which is an organophosphate. But if they are using any organophosphates, they're to be testing the employees on an annual basis. I know that it's a California state law, and I'm sure that you will not see, at least at our district, that any of the employees are being annually tested by their doctors.
Well, the everyone is all like up in arms about people that supposedly are being attacked by chemical weapons in other countries. What about our country? Because that organophosphate is sarin gas, everyone. That's right. That organophosphate that Tiffany is talking about, that they were allowed to use before, is actually sarin gas just diluted, and that's what organophosphate is, what it's made from. So, I mean, that kind of gives us a perspective. And sarin gas is 473 times more potent than chlorine. You die in 1 to 10 minutes. And yet we are spraying this chemical weapon all around us on fields and because we were going to get rid of it, and Dow signed the order. I mean, Trump signed the order to allow the continued use of it because all the farmers were in an uproar. So it's almost like we know it destroys our babies' brains.
Right.
So it's like, oh, well, the farmers are more, their profit is more important than our babies' brains, which when you have an autistic child, the burden to our country, to our healthcare
Right.
system, to the parents, to the
To the
education,
parents.
everything. What is that cost? How are we comparing that cost? And when we looked at the economics of atrazine with a global economist, Tiffany, on our show, he found that we only increase production of atrazine, the second most used pesticide, which I want to ask if you guys use that. We only increased our production 4%, but the destruction, it has contaminated every waterway in our country. It is causing micropenises in our babies. It is changing the sexual orientation of our boys. I mean,
Wow, that's why it's being used. I mean, I mean, I, I believe, I believe, I believe some of it's intentional. I don't know by the vector district per se. I think that it's just greed as far as they're concerned. I can't imagine anybody wanting to intentionally harm people.
But when they're spraying this pesticide, and you said that at these vector departments, they have labs. They have very sophisticated labs.
Yes, yes, ours had a very sophisticated lab, and they do all of their West Nile, West Nile reporting comes out of the lab that the district, the self special district, they govern themselves. They report West Nile, so they're the ones who determine whether we are in a state of emergency.
But they can grow mosquitoes in that lab themselves if they want.
They do grow mosquitoes in that lab. Absolutely, they do.
And it takes, I think one of the most significant things I've learned from you, Tiffany, is that you said it took 15 infected mosquitoes to make a blended slurry to even do a West Nile virus test.
It takes what I was taught, and this is what I was taught during when they were explaining West Nile to us and telling us we were in a state of emergency, 25 to 50. So I believe it's 25. I don't think it's just 15. I think it's 25 to 50.
And to trap that, to trap, this is what this is what I really question. Because those traps, to me, if you got these traps hanging on trees everywhere, first of all, how are you collecting that many infected mosquitoes? It seems like you'd have to have a really highly concentrated population to even be able to gather up 15 of these infected mosquitoes to even make a slurry. And so I just feel that this raises a lot of question marks I just feel like we're setting up, it's kind of like temptation. If their weakness is cake, and you just leave that cake right there in front of them all the time. And you have been trying to teach us that the money, the greed is prevalent within these departments.
It's sickening. It's absolutely sickening when we get to that part of it.
And why don't we just kind of go through, because we're running out of time right now, but we're gonna be back again next week, right? Next Tuesday.
Tuesday's if it's election day, I will not be.
Okay.
I could probably get away for if we're going to do the same. We'll have to talk.
Okay,
because I am working on.
Okay, well, if it's not next week, then it'll be the week after, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Yes. And we're going to continue this story, everyone. So keep tuning in. We're going to keep talking to Tiffany. We're going to find out some major information here. This is so important. We have to keep these people accountable. That's part of our job as citizens. And thank you so much for joining us and taking time out of your day, Tiffany. And she'll be back with us, everyone. Tiffany Anderson.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. And thanks for listening to Smart Health Talk. We'll be back here